Understanding security, a foundation for success. Security is a multifaceted process that involves a continuous cycle of assessment, implementation, monitoring, response, and deterrence. To effectively contribute to a security team, it's essential to grasp the fundamental concepts that underpin security functions. This includes understanding the importance of compliance factors and best practice frameworks and guiding the selection of security controls, as well as how different organizations implement security measures across their departments, units, and roles. Building a strong security foundation. To establish credibility as a security professional, it's crucial to have a solid understanding of security in a business context. This involves familiarizing yourself with the key terminology and concepts used by security experts in technical documents and industry publications. Just as a large building is constructed from individual bricks, security implementations are built from fundamental components. By understanding these building blocks, you can create a strong foundation for your security career. The CIA Triad, the cornerstones of information security. Information security is the protection of data resources from unauthorized access, attack, theft, or damage. Given the vulnerabilities inherent in data storage, transfer, and processing, the systems used to handle data must demonstrate robust security properties. These properties are often referred to as the CIA Triad: confidentiality. This ensures that information can only be accessed by authorized individuals. This prevents unauthorized disclosure or interception of data. Integrity guarantees that data is stored and transferred as intended, and any modifications are only made through authorized channels. This protects data from unauthorized alterations or corruption. Availability ensures that authorized users can access information when needed. This prevents disruptions to services or data access due to outages or attacks. By understanding and upholding these fundamental principles, organizations can effectively protect their valuable data assets and mitigate security risks. Beyond the CIA Triad, the importance of non-repudiation. While the CIA Triad provides a solid foundation for information security, some security models and researchers identify additional properties crucial for secure systems. One of the most important concepts is non-repudiation. It ensures that a person cannot deny taking an action related to a resource, such as creating, modifying, or sending it. Think about legal documents like wills. Witnessing a signature guarantees non-repudiation. In a dispute, the witness confirms the document's validity. Similarly, in the digital world, non-repudiation can be achieved through digital signatures, access logs, and other mechanisms that create an undeniable record of a user's actions. A framework for action. The NIST cybersecurity framework within the broader information security realm. Cybersecurity specifically focuses on securing processing hardware and software. Security tasks can be categorized into 5 key functions based on the framework developed by the National Institute of Standards and Technology. 1. Identify. This function involves developing security policies and capabilities. It necessitates evaluating risks, threats, and vulnerabilities to recommend security controls that manage them. Essentially, this stage identifies what needs to be protected. 2. Protect. This function focuses on procuring, developing, installing, operating, and decommissioning IT hardware and software assets with security embedded in every step of the lifecycle. It ensures proper infrastructure and system configurations for defense. 3. Detect. Here, the focus is on ongoing, proactive monitoring to ensure existing controls are effective against emerging threats. This function involves constant vigilance to identify suspicious activity. 4. Respond. This function revolves around identifying, analyzing, containing, and eradicating threats to systems and data security. It involves developing a response plan for security incidents. 5. Recover. This function prioritizes cybersecurity resilience to restore systems and data if other controls fail to prevent attacks. It ensures the ability to bounce back from security breaches. Understanding these functions and their associated goals empowers organizations to implement targeted security controls. Importantly, due to the vast array of security control types, choosing the right ones can be challenging. This is where a cybersecurity framework comes in. The power of frameworks. Guiding your security program. A cybersecurity framework acts as a guide for selecting and configuring security controls. Its importance lies in preventing organizations from building security programs in isolation or on a weak foundation. Frameworks ensure crucial security concepts are addressed throughout the process. By using a framework, an organization can objectively assess current security capabilities. This provides a clear picture of your current security posture. Define target security goals. What level of security do you want to achieve? Prioritize investments to reach target goals. Allocate resources effectively to achieve your desired security state. Structure internal risk management. Frameworks guide internal security processes. Demonstrate regulatory compliance. A framework-based approach provides verifiable evidence of compliance with security regulations. In conclusion, understanding additional security properties like non-repudiation and utilizing a structured security framework like NIST's offering empower organizations to develop robust and comprehensive security programs. Gap analysis is a crucial process that identifies discrepancies between an organization's existing security systems and the requirements or recommendations outlined in a security framework. This analysis is typically conducted when initially adopting a framework or when aligning with new industry or legal compliance standards. To maintain compliance and validate changes to the framework, gap analysis might be repeated periodically. Access control. Safeguarding your information systems. Access control is a fundamental aspect of information security that ensures systems meet the goals of the CIA triad. It governs how subjects such as people, devices, and software processes can interact with objects such as resources like networks, servers, databases, or files. The IAM framework, a four-step approach. Modern access control is often implemented through an identity and access management system, which consists of four key processes: identification, creating unique accounts or IDs to represent users, devices, or processes within the network; authentication, verifying the identity of a subject when they attempt to access a resource. Authentication factors determine the type of credential required, for example, passwords or digital certificates. Authorization, determining and enforcing the rights subjects should have on each resource. Authorization models define how rights are granted, whether it be discretionary or mandatory. Accounting, tracking authorized resource usage and alerting on unauthorized attempts. To illustrate these concepts, consider an e-commerce site. Identification, ensuring customers are legitimate by verifying billing and delivery information and preventing fraudulent payment methods. Authentication, creating unique accounts and requiring customers to log in to manage orders and billing. Authorization, implementing rules to allow customers to place orders only with valid payment methods and potentially granting access to exclusive offers or content based on loyalty or promotions. Accounting, recording customer actions to prevent them from denying orders or fraudulent activity. Remember, these processes apply to both human users and systems. Your e-commerce server must also authenticate itself to customers connecting via a web browser. By effectively implementing access control and conducting regular gap analyses, organizations can significantly enhance their security posture and protect valuable information assets. Lesson 2. Compare threat types. In this lesson, we're going to be suiting up and diving deep into the world of cyber threats. We'll crack open the case files on different threat actors, understanding what makes them tick, their goals, their methods. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to identify the various types of threat actors and the tactics they use to infiltrate systems. We'll also be going over common threat vectors, which are basically the paths these actors take to launch their attacks. Think of them as the doorways they try to sneak through. And we'll explore attack surfaces, which are all the exposed points in a system that these actors can potentially target. The bigger the attack surface, the more opportunities there are for infiltration. Buckle up and get ready to learn how to recognize and defend against cyber threats of all shapes and sizes. Consider threat actors to be malicious agents, individual or collective, who actively seek to compromise systems. Their motivations can range from financial gain to disrupting operations or achieving political objectives. A vulnerability is a flaw or weakness within a system, application, or network. These weaknesses can be technical, such as software bugs or misconfigurations, or non-technical, like human error or lack of awareness. Vulnerabilities create openings that threat actors can exploit. The threat represents the potential for a threat actor to leverage a vulnerability and launch an attack. The existence of a vulnerability alone doesn't guarantee an attack, but it creates the possibility. Risk is the confluence of the likelihood of a threat occurring and the potential impact of a successful attack. Even with a vulnerability present, the risk might be low if the likelihood of exploitation is minimal. However, a skilled threat actor finding a critical vulnerability significantly elevates the risk of a successful and damaging attack. Threat actors continuously search for and identify vulnerabilities. Once identified, a vulnerability becomes a threat, and the risk intensifies based on the exploitability of the vulnerability and the capabilities of the threat actor. By understanding these concepts and prioritizing vulnerability management, organizations can significantly reduce their cybersecurity risk posture. In the world of cybersecurity, understanding the why behind an attack is just as important as understanding the how. This lesson will delve into the motivations that drive threat actors and explore the methods they employ to achieve their goals through extortion, fraud, and political agendas. Threat actors come in all shapes and sizes, and their motivations can vary greatly. Here are some of the most common. Threat actors may target individuals or organizations to steal financial data or extort money through ransomware attacks. Deception is another key motivator. Threat actors may use stolen data to commit identity theft or create fake accounts for fraudulent purposes. Some attacks aim to cause chaos and disrupt operations. This could be motivated by revenge, competition, or a desire to sow discord. Nation-states may also use cyber attacks to sabotage critical infrastructure or cripple government services. Hacktivist groups use cyber attacks to promote a political or social cause. This could involve leaking sensitive information, defacing websites, or launching denial-of-service attacks to overwhelm a target's systems. Now, let's explore how threat actors achieve their goals through various means. Threat actors may exploit a vulnerability and steal sensitive data. They then threaten to expose this data publicly or sell it on the black market unless a ransom is paid. This is a common tactic in ransomware attacks, where attackers encrypt a victim's data and demand payment for the decryption key. Stolen data, such as credit card numbers or personal information, can be used to make unauthorized purchases or open fraudulent accounts. Phishing emails and social engineering tactics are common methods used to trick victims into revealing sensitive information. Political agendas. Hacktivists often use distributed denial-of-service attacks to overwhelm a target's website or server, making it inaccessible to legitimate users. They may also deface websites with propaganda or leak sensitive information to raise awareness about a cause. Understanding these motivations and methods is crucial for effective cybersecurity defense. By anticipating the why behind an attack, organizations can implement targeted security measures and mitigate the risks posed by different threat actors. Threat actors come in a range of skill sets, wielding varying degrees of sophistication in their attacks. Let's explore the spectrum, from the novice to the highly skilled, unskilled hackers, often teenagers or young adults with limited technical knowledge. Script kiddies rely on readily available tools and scripts found online. These tools often exploit known vulnerabilities, and script kiddies typically lack the understanding to customize attacks or evade sophisticated defenses. While the damage they cause might be limited, they can still disrupt systems and cause headaches. The hacker term encompasses a broader range of individuals with more technical prowess than script kiddies. Hackers can write their own scripts and exploit vulnerabilities, sometimes even discovering new ones. They may target specific organizations or individuals for financial gain, personal challenge, or ideological reasons. Their attacks can be more targeted and pose a significant risk. Nation-state actors are government-backed hacking groups with extensive resources and advanced capabilities. Nation-state actors often have access to zero-day exploits and employ highly skilled attackers. Their motivations can be political, military, or economic espionage. They target critical infrastructure, steal intellectual property, or disrupt operations of foreign governments or businesses. These attacks are often highly complex and pose the most significant threat to cybersecurity. By understanding the different skill levels of threat actors, organizations can tailor their cybersecurity defenses accordingly. Focusing on patching vulnerabilities and educating users can help mitigate script kiddie attacks. Cyber attacks have become a powerful tool for both organized crime and corporate competitors in today's digital landscape. Organized crime groups see cyberspace as a lucrative frontier. They can launch various attacks to steal financial data or extort money through ransomware. These attacks can target individuals, businesses, or even entire financial institutions. Cyber attacks can be used to disrupt critical infrastructure or businesses controlled by a rival. This can give them a competitive edge or weaken their rivals' operations. Businesses may use cyber attacks to steal intellectual property from their competitors. This stolen information can give them a significant advantage in the marketplace. Attacks can be used to disrupt a competitor's operations, hindering their ability to deliver products or services. This can damage their reputation and market share. Also, competitors may launch attacks to deface a rival's website or leak damaging information about their practices. This aims to tarnish their reputation and sway public opinion. Let's address the threats that can lurk within an organization itself, also known as internal threat actors. We'll explore how their actions, intentional or unintentional, can pose security risks, and delve into the concept of shadow IT, which can create vulnerabilities. Not all threats come from outside the organization. Internal threat actors are employees, contractors, or anyone with authorized access to an organization's systems and data who misuse that access. Some actors are malicious. These individuals deliberately misuse their access for personal gain or to harm the organization. Disgruntled employees or those facing financial difficulties might be more susceptible to malicious actions. Meanwhile, some employees who unknowingly compromise security due to negligence or lack of awareness. Clicking on phishing emails, falling victim to social engineering tactics, or using weak passwords are all examples of unintentional insider threats. Insider threats can be particularly damaging because they already have trusted access. They may have knowledge of security protocols and can bypass controls more easily than external attackers. Additionally, detecting malicious insiders can be challenging, as their actions may appear legitimate at first glance. Shadow IT refers to the unauthorized use of technology within an organization. This can include employees using personal devices for work purposes, downloading unauthorized software, or subscribing to cloud services without IT department approval. Shadow IT creates security vulnerabilities because these devices and services often lack the proper security controls in place. For instance, an employee using a personal device for work email might not have strong password protection or encryption, making it vulnerable to attack. Additionally, unauthorized cloud services may have lax security measures, putting sensitive data at risk. We can combat against this by regularly educating employees on cybersecurity best practices, including identifying phishing attempts, using strong passwords, and reporting suspicious activity. We can also implement strong access controls to limit access to sensitive data and systems based on the principle of least privilege. Data loss prevention solutions can help monitor and prevent the unauthorized transfer of sensitive data. Different attacks exploit various weaknesses in your system's defenses, known as threat vectors. Here's a breakdown of some common attacks and the threat vectors they target. First, there is malware. This malicious software can infiltrate systems through various means, including infected email attachments, malicious websites, or physical media. Once installed, malware can steal data, disrupt operations, or even lock you out of your system entirely. Maybe the most popular is phishing. Deceptive emails or messages try to trick users into revealing sensitive information like passwords or clicking on malicious links that download malware. Phishing is a form of social engineering. This manipulative tactic uses psychological tricks to gain a user's trust and convince them to take actions that compromise security, such as revealing passwords or granting access to systems. As a security professional, it's important to know about zero-day exploits. These are attacks that exploit vulnerabilities in software before a patch is available, making them particularly dangerous. Now, let's talk about attacks targeting network weaknesses. Man in the Middle is an attack that intercepts communications between two parties, allowing the attacker to steal data or modify messages. This can occur on unsecured Wi-Fi networks. Denial-of-service attacks overwhelms a system with traffic, making it unavailable to legitimate users. A distributed denial-of-service attacks involve multiple compromised computers flooding the target with requests. We need to address attacks that target people and processes. We want to talk about brute force attacks. These attacks systematically try different password combinations until they guess the correct one. We also have watering hole attacks. These are attackers that compromise legitimate websites that a specific target group visits. When users visit these sites, they are unknowingly infected with malware. Remember, threat vectors are the entry points for attacks. By understanding these common attack methods and the vulnerabilities they exploit, you can take steps to fortify your defenses and make it much harder for attackers to gain a foothold in your systems. Software vulnerabilities are like cracks in a fortress's walls. They create openings that attackers can exploit to gain unauthorized access to your system and wreak havoc. On this slide, we'll focus on how outdated and unsupported software can significantly increase your vulnerability. Unsupported systems and applications. Imagine software as a living thing. It needs constant care and attention, just like your car. Software developers release updates to fix bugs, security holes, and other vulnerabilities. When a system or application is no longer supported, it doesn't receive these crucial updates, leaving those vulnerabilities wide open for attackers to exploit. By having unsupported software, it will make you more susceptible to attacks such as compatibility issues and limited functionality. Keeping your software up to date is a fundamental cybersecurity principle. By prioritizing timely updates and patches, organizations can significantly reduce their vulnerability to attacks and maintain a robust security posture. Network vectors are the pathways attackers use to infiltrate your system. Remote access and Wi-Fi networks offer convenience, but they also introduce security risks. Here are steps to fortify these access points. Utilize robust encryption protocols like WPA3 for Wi-Fi networks and secure protocols like SSH for remote access. Encryption scrambles data in transit, making it unreadable to attackers. Avoid using generic passwords for Wi-Fi networks and remote access accounts. Implement strong, complex passwords and change them regularly. Consider multi-factor authentication for an extra layer of security. Grant remote access privileges only to authorized users and restrict access to specific resources they need. Don't provide blanket access to your entire network. Create a separate guest network for visitors, isolating their devices from your main network and sensitive data. Public Wi-Fi networks are notoriously insecure. Avoid accessing sensitive information or conducting financial transactions on public Wi-Fi. If you must use public Wi-Fi, consider using a VPN to encrypt your traffic. Bluetooth offers convenient connectivity, but it can also be exploited by attackers. Here's how to minimize Bluetooth risk. Disable Bluetooth functionality when you're not actively using it to reduce the attack surface. Finally, service ports are like doorways on your system, allowing specific applications to communicate. Unnecessary open ports create vulnerabilities. Remember, defense is a layered approach. By implementing these measures across remote access, wireless networks, Bluetooth, and service ports, you can significantly strengthen your network security posture and make it much harder for attackers to gain a foothold in your system. USB sticks and document files, seemingly harmless tools, can be cleverly weaponized by attackers to lure victims into compromising their systems. USB sticks offer a convenient way to transfer data. Attackers exploit this by creating malicious USB sticks that appear legitimate. An attacker might strategically lose a USB stick in a high-traffic area, hoping a curious victim will plug it in. The USB stick might have a label hinting at enticing content like confidential files or top-secret project. This will hopefully spark the victim's curiosity and entices them to plug it in. An attacker may also use documents attached to email to lure victims to open them. Documents like spreadsheets or presentations might contain embedded macros and automated scripts. When the victim enables macros, these scripts can download malware, steal data, or manipulate the system. By understanding the tricks attackers use and remaining vigilant, you can significantly reduce the risk of falling victim to these deceptive ploys. Remember, a healthy dose of skepticism is key. If something seems too good to be true, it probably is. In cybersecurity, message-based vectors refer to communication channels that attackers exploit to deliver malicious content or manipulate victims. These messages can take various forms, but the core concept is that they act as a carrier for a cyber attack. Phishing and spam are both unwelcome intrusions in our inbox, but they have distinct purposes and techniques. Phishing is a targeted attempt to deceive victims into revealing sensitive information like passwords, credit card details, or personal data. While on the other hand, spam is an unsolicited bulk of email messages, often promoting products, services, or scams with a low level of personalization. Phishing can be targeted or generic. Some phishing attempts personalize emails with your name or other information to appear more convincing. However, mass phishing campaigns might use generic greetings and templates. By understanding the key differences between phishing and spam, you can be more vigilant and protect yourself from these cyber threats. Always be cautious of unsolicited emails, don't click on suspicious links or attachments, and be wary of emails that create a sense of urgency or pressure you to act. A supply chain attack refers to the potential weaknesses in the various stages a product or service goes through before reaching the end user. Attackers can exploit these vulnerabilities to gain unauthorized access to a target organization's systems or data. Attackers can tamper with software during development or introduce malware into updates. A famous example of this is the SolarWinds supply chain attack of 2020. Attackers can infiltrate a vendor's system and inject malicious code into software updates, products, or even physically tamper with hardware. Once in the system, this code can then be used to launch attacks on the vendor's clients. Imagine a fortress of firewalls and encryption guarding our digital treasures. Social engineering, however, possesses a master key. It's our inherent desire to be helpful and our ingrained trust in authority. It exploits these chinks in our emotional armor, tricking unsuspecting users into granting access or spilling secrets that no firewall can prevent. Think of it this way: security is a chain, and social engineering preys on the weakest link, which is people. A single manipulated click on a poisoned link can render the most formidable security system powerless. Social engineers are the chameleons of the cyber realm, constantly adapting their tactics. They morph into familiar figures, donning the masks of IT personnel or colleagues to gain our trust. They weave urgency and scarcity into their tales, creating a sense of panic that clouds our judgment. Imagine frantic warnings of compromised accounts or fleeting offers that vanish like smoke. Fear itself becomes their tool, wielded like a serpent's hiss, threatening job security or legal retribution to force compliance. This ever-evolving serpent sheds its skin, constantly refining its methods. It devours current events and social trends, spinning them into believable narratives. It may target specific individuals or tailor its approach to the unique culture of an organization, like a master mimic blending into its surroundings. Typo squatting, also known as URL hijacking, is a deceptive trick in the digital world that preys on our misspelling mistakes. Imagine you're on a quest for buried treasure online, but instead of a map, you have a website address. Typo squatters take advantage of common typos and register domain names that are slightly misspelled versions of popular websites. Before setting sail on your online adventure, take a moment to double-check the website address you're entering. Make sure it matches the intended website exactly, letter for letter. While typos happen, being mindful of your typing can help avoid falling into the typo squatting trap. Slow down and pay attention to the letters you're hitting on the keyboard. By being aware of typo squatting and taking precautions, you can navigate the digital world with more confidence, ensuring you reach your intended online destinations and avoid any hidden dangers lurking behind misspelled addresses. Watering hole attacks present a cunning and targeted approach. Like a predator lying in wait near a watering hole frequented by specific prey, attackers exploit trusted websites to compromise targeted users. The initial phase involves meticulous reconnaissance. Attackers meticulously identify websites frequented by a designated user group. This could be an industry news site popular with a specific profession, a forum utilized by a particular organization's employees, or any website that fosters a sense of trust within a targeted demographic. Once the target website is identified, attackers leverage various techniques to compromise its security. This may involve exploiting existing vulnerabilities within the website software or employing social engineering tactics to manipulate website administrators. With the website compromised, attackers then introduce a malicious payload. This could be malicious code designed to exploit vulnerabilities on the user's device or phishing tactics disguised as legitimate downloads. When unsuspecting users visit the compromised website, the malicious payload is triggered. In some instances, a drive-by download infects the user's device without their knowledge. Alternatively, phishing tactics may lure users into downloading malware disguised as legitimate software. Organizations can bolster their defenses by educating employees on the risks associated with watering hole attacks. This empowers users to exercise caution regarding unexpected downloads, especially on websites they visit the most.
Lesson 3. We're going to be learning about cryptographic solutions. So here we're going to be learning about algorithms, public key infrastructure, digital certificates, and then we're going to learn about how they have key exchange, so PKI. Um, to Speaking from experience, this is the most challenging section that we're going to go about when it comes to cybersecurity, security plus. Just kind of, it's a lot to take in. So please rewatch this lesson if need be, and just take notes wherever you can. Please, if I'm not speaking directly towards that the slide there, pause the video, read the sections that I have in those slides, where I may be explaining it, but I may not be taking the exact note that I have written out in the slide. So please, if that helps you in any type of way, just pause at any time and then read the section that I have there, and then let's move forward with this section. It's a challenging section, but it's good to know. Just to know that the whole internet is really based off of how we are communicating securely with each other, and we can't do really none of that without encryption, algorithms, and then how do we pass things back and forth using PKI. So let's jump into it. Before we get started, we need to go over a couple of things. You're gonna hear me say some phrases over and over again, and so that we're clear and I don't lose anybody. Let's go over those phrases. So you'll hear me say plain text and then ciphertext. So plain text is things that we can read. They are showing up whenever we sniff the network. Um, they're not encrypted in any type of way. It's plain text. So that's how we're gonna pronounce that word, and then that's how the context that we'll use it in. Ciphertext being the opposite. It'll be encrypted, unreadable. So if we're sniffing the network, we're going to get some gibberish back. And that gibberish that we see is going to be ciphertext because that's what encryption does to your data as you're moving it across the network. So to go back to plain text, if we're moving that same data across the network and it's plain text, then I should be able to sniff that network and then see it. So if you're moving your password across the network in plain text, I should be able to see that password. Same thing as if you were to move a certain message in plain text, I should be able to see that if I'm sniffing the network. Ciphertext, not. It has an encryption to it, and it's encrypted to the normal sniffer. All right. When I say normal, it is possible to take that same encryption, and then if I had the algorithm and then the key, then I can reverse engineer it and then change it from ciphertext to plain text. Okay. So I already said the word algorithm. Algorithm is a mathematically problem, a mathematic problem that allows us to take plain text and change it into ciphertext. So the algorithm could be nothing like your average or used to decrypt uh, to change out of the encryption back into plain text. And then cryptanalysis is just the analysis of cryptography, just the kind of the breakdown that we'll get into the block size, the bit size, um, being able to know the key length, the algorithms used, how many times are we going to repeat certain algorithms over and over again. This is the analysis of it. So just know that whenever I use the word cryptanalysis, it's just pretty much this is the in-depth um, study of cryptography. In addition to those terminologies, um, in encryption, you also hear these characters brung up in a storyline, and they want to communicate securely to each other, but you have a adversary kind of sniffing the network, and I want to bring them to your attention as well. They're going to be named Alice, Bob, and Mallory. So Alice and Bob is co-workers, and they want to send some type of email towards each other, and they have sensitive information in that email. And in order to do that, they want to securely transport keys from one individual to the next. Alice wants to send her private key, or will use her uh, private key to encrypt something, and then Bob will use her public key to decrypt something. And we want to keep that message away from Mallory, who is attempting to observe the traffic, um, without them knowing. So, just wanted to bring that up to you. This will be a perfect time for you to pause the video and then read everything that I have there. But I just wanted to summarize those characters to you because even if you watch other videos, they may bring these characters up, and so that you're not lost and thinking that they have something to do too with cryptography. They're just kind of a well-known example that we use for day-to-day operations when it comes to PKI systems and sending encrypted messages back and forth. When talking about encryption, you're going to have two of them. You're going to have asymmetric encryption and then symmetric encryption. So here we're going to talk about symmetric and the different types of symmetric that we are going to use. Symmetric is normally a faster encryption. So that process that we're going to use to take that plain text, turn it into an encrypted text, and then send it across the network, it's typically faster with a symmetric encryption. It's going to typically use one key where we encrypt it with one key and then we unencrypt it with that same key. So that's easy to do and it's easy to transport. Uh, Now, with the two that we have here, we have substitution and then transposition. And what that means is that within that algorithm, substitution means that we're going to change different uh, elements of that process. So substitution, we're going to take if it was let's say uh, a B within the algorithm, we're going to take that B and substitute it with the X. And so for anyone who may be snooping or trying to break and do crypto analysis on that particular algorithm, they'll see that we not only had a algorithm that, you know, they thought it was a B, but we substituted it, and they're not familiar with the new algorithm that we put there because we're using something different, totally different, which is just a substitution. Transposition, on the other hand, is that we keep that process, we keep that algorithm, and we may shift um, elements from left to right, but we're not replacing the element altogether. So the best way I can really put this into a visual is when you think about I think about a algebra problem where it has a plus b equals c. Um, in substitution, we're going to take that b out and we're going to say a plus d equals c. And so now it changes up that whole problem, right? Whereas transposition, we're going to say A plus B equals C, and we're going to use a transposition algorithm. We're just going to shift that A to the B and shift the B to the A, but it still equals C. Okay, so I hope that was a good breakdown of how we're using symmetrical encryption. Remember, symmetric encryption is going to be a faster encryption, something that we use for streaming in the real world, streaming videos, things of that nature, and over a encrypted network. So it's a quicker encryption versus asymmetric, and we'll get into asymmetric later. In this diagram here, you see what I was explaining in that last slide is that in symmetric algorithms, we're going to use that same key. It's just the problem is that when Alice wants to communicate with Bob, she's going to have to give him that key. Um, and then when you think about it in the real world, how am I supposed to give you a key securely? You understand? So do I walk down to your office and give you that key? Yeah, that's possible. That's possible, right? But say if you live in a different city, a different county, do I call you over the phone and give you that key, and then encrypt it and then let you unencrypt it once I give you after the phone call? Is that so secure? Mallory may be listening on the outside of my office, copying down the phone call that we're having. So that could be it's feasible, right? It's just not efficient. And so when we're thinking about on a one-on-one scale, it's easy to have one key and then we share that key however we want to share that key. Um, but a lot of times when we're working with um, hundreds of people, if not hundreds more of external people, we need to have more keys if we're going to and talk securely. Okay, so this is where asymmetric could come into play, where asymmetric is more secure and it's more scalable than symmetric keys. Symmetric algorithms. So just keep that in mind. That's going to be very, very. I'm pretty sure that's going to come up somewhere, somehow. That symmetric is good and fast, but it's not scalable. So it's not necessarily one. You don't want to use that for, let's say, 100 people, because when you think about it, everybody's going to need a key for every message that they will want to send out, and then you will need to make sure that you have a process to give those keys out in a secure manner as well. So every algorithm is going to use a key in order to make that algorithm more secure. So a lot of times you'll hear me say um, that we have algorithms, but then they have keys within them that make them unique. And that's an important part when it comes to making sure that we have some type of security and that other people know what type of algorithms that we're using, but they don't need to know the keys on which we are making those things secure. So think of it like, it's what makes your algorithm unique to your business. So it's it's a often practice that the key length be lengthened as well as salted, having a variety of things put into it in order to make it even more unique. And the reason why we want to make these things unique is because we want to increase the factor of it not being guessable. So whenever someone is trying to hack that encryption, that algorithm, they can know the algorithm. That's fine. If it's a RSA algorithm, that's fine. But if they don't know the key, such as, did we use a three length key in order to, we ran that algorithm 3 times, or did we run it 16 times? When we add that key, it then brings on a more longer period for them to actually crack it. Okay. And so the more we lengthen our keys, the more we put on a factor of it being unguessable. Let's talk about asymmetric encryption. So we already talked about symmetric encryption, which uses the same key, right? Asymmetric is going to use something called a public key and a private key, two different keys. So this makes it way better when it comes to scaling, um, but it's also more confusing to that hacker to figure out which key um, that you have as a private key. Okay, so we're able to send messages out securely using our public key. Using our public key, but then we're able to decrypt any type of thing using our private key. And the reason why these keys can actually talk to each other, similar to the symmetric key, is because they're mathematically related. Okay, so they take very large prime numbers and they put those into the algorithms, and then they come up with a public key and a private key, um, and they name them accordingly. So that private key is meant for you only, and then that public key is something that we could put out there for anyone to see. And the prime, your more best, the best example that I can give you is on a certificate that you go onto a regular website, you look at those certificates, and you can see the public key of that website that you're going to. So that public key is there for anybody to um, take and then know that if I wanted to encrypt something, that I can use their public key and communicate with them securely. Okay, so um, it's a way better way to scale. We don't have to give everybody two pairs of keys. We can give you one pair of key, one key pair, and then we are going to take that and tell people to use your public key whenever you want to send something to you securely. So remember that is that symmetric keys, we're using two keys of the same key, right? I use my key to encrypt as well as decrypt, but in public keys, we're gonna have two keys, two different keys in there, public and private. So you can see here on this diagram that this is exactly how uh, key pair works, PKI. So they're going to, Bob's going to create his own public key and then give it to whoever who wants it, right? But then he's going to create another private key. And whenever you want to send something encrypted to him, you will use his public key in order to encrypt it. Once he receives that encrypted message, he will use his private key to unencrypt it. The reason why they talk to each other is because they're mathematically combined. They're drawn to each other that way, right? So I can give you my public key. That's no problem. And Mallory cannot decrypt it because in order for her to decrypt it, she just can't use my public key again to decrypt the message that was encrypted. she has to use my private key. So out of all of this, just remember that give away our, but in order to have people encrypt things for us, we give away our public key. Okay, and it all, and just keep those things in mind. So whenever you want to talk securely to someone, you're going to use their public key in order to encrypt that message. Once they get it, they'll decrypt it with their private. Hashing. Hashing is similar to algorithms and encryption, but it's not. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a sliver of data, and we're going to apply an algorithm to it, and we're only using this for integrity reasons only. So we're going to use that, and we're going to make something similar to a fingerprint, something that's very unique to that particular data. Okay. So whenever we are taking a hash of something and we want to verify if it is truly what it says it is, then we're going to take a hash and compare those hashes. The reason why hashes are so used widely is because if anything within the data changes, the hash change. Okay, let me say that again because maybe I mashed everything up with my words. If anything within the data, the document changes, I don't care if it's a changing a capital letter to a lowercase letter, adding a 3 where there was a 2, putting in a comma, a space. It doesn't matter. Whatever you change on that particular document, if you make any minor change, it will change the hash that is um, computed on the other end of the algorithm. Okay, so that's great for whenever I want to send you something and you're looking at it and you're comparing the hashes and you're saying, wait a minute, this is not the same document because the hashes are vastly different. And and what I like about hashes is that that's what they are. They're not like the hash will come out and it will be one value change. No, it's a complete different hash. So it would look nothing similar to the original hash. And so we use those things as fingerprints to identify if any changes have been made. And they really support the integrity pillar when it comes to the CIA triad. Um, Hashes that you need to be familiar with are here on the slide. The SHA algorithms are very widely used, as well as the message digest. The message digest is going to be that the output that you see, and I should have some a lab that you can go to a website and we're gonna take some documents and throw them in there and make some hashes so you can see the output of taking one large document and throwing it in there and getting a 16-bit hash a hash value out of that, where you could take a 42-page document and get that same 16-bit hash value, or you could take a sentence and get a same 16-bit hash value. So they're very good to use when it comes to supporting integrity, and you need to be aware that it's not an algorithm, it's not encryption, but we do use it for the identification part of a data set. When addressing a digital signature, you're mostly going to see those type of transactions on the web. So a lot of times when we look at the certificates that a website has, they will have the digital signature there. So that digital signature is going to be the representation for basically their public key in order for you to communicate securely with it. So that's why it's so important that when we're doing browsing on the internet, that we're going to websites that we are familiar with, and then if they look kind of strange, do we look at the URL? We need to look at the URL and make sure that those digital certificates are there, because they're going to have a digital signature to verify who they are based off of those signatures, hashes, and algorithms in order to create that actual signature that goes into the certificate. So public key infrastructure is the only way that we would want to communicate on the internet. We want to make sure that people have their certificates that are given to them by a certificate authority and that it represents who they say they are. Having these certificates, having those algorithms and those hashes represent who they are. It supports that integrity piece that we keep talking about with the CIA triad. But they also it supports that confidentiality too, if needed. So if we're gonna use that to communicate securely, let's say if we're a bank or we're sharing some type of sensitive information, we want to make sure that we have those certificates there, those algorithms placed on our websites in order to be able to send certain things securely and that Mallory is not being able to snip that network at that point in time and see things over a open network using using HTTP is just an open um, way of talking on the internet. And so whenever they're using a tool such as Wireshark, they'll be able to see that actual message that they're sending to that unsecure line of communication. But when we use a different protocol such as HTTPS, then that secure part of HTTP is now wrapped around an encryption um, tunnel and is being able to communicate from one spot to the next securely. And if anybody's sniffing that network, while they may see the traffic going back and forth, they're not able to interpret the traffic because it's not sent in plain text. In the last slide, you heard me reference certificate authorities in order to give those certificates out to people who own domains on the internet. And you want these certificate authorities to, verify you because there's only a hand group of them that are, pretty much the gatekeeper, so to say, to verify who you say you are. Um, Now, these certificate authorities, to make an analogy with it, or to give you some type of way of thinking about it as in the normal world, think of it as a driver, a DMV. So a DMV will verify who you are, and then they will say you also have the right to drive a car or to operate a Mack truck or a motorcycle. They're giving you a certificate, or in their case, they're giving you a license card in order to show you that you are verifiable to operate such machinery. Okay, and that's the same thing that a certificate authority will do. They will say, hey, what are you setting your website up to do? What is it used for? What is your audience? Who are you? How can who do we put in charge of who's in charge of this website? Things of that nature, and they verify with you that you are the correct owner of this website, and then they give you a certificate as a verification for everyone else to say, hey, we are who we say we are, and we uphold that integrity part of the CIA triad. Whenever you are teaching someone how to navigate on the internet, or you're explaining to them what a secure website looks like, you want to make sure that you look in, show them on a web browser how does that little lock look, and that you understand and have them understand that having HTTPS is a big part to communicating securely, and that they are ways for people to look at the information that they're sending across these networks. So that's why it's important to have a digital signature on your website, using a secure protocol such as HTTPS. And when you dive into deeper things such as sending not packets, but documents over a website, we want to make sure that they're using other secure protocols such as SSL encryption, and making sure that those things are wrapped up in that tunnel as well. But it all starts with that digital certificate, making sure that it's stamped by that certificate authority, verifying who they say they are. So just when we, as security professionals, we just want to make sure that we relay that to our clients, our peers, we relay that to our family members, whoever's getting on this internet, and then they're actually conducting business or just having fun. We just want to make sure that they get that understanding. Throughout your career, you're going to realize that they're certificates that you're not going to need for every situation, but yet people are still reaching those websites via the web and via the network. So a lot of times we may want to self-sign our own certificates because it's internal. What we're using this web browser for it's an internal site. So therefore we don't need someone else to verify that it's secure. We want to make sure that we know that it's secure, and so we will self-sign those certificates. But it's not necessarily a great thing for you to self-sign a certificate and then put it out there for the public to see, because you could do it for malicious activity, but you could be naive enough to self-sign your own certificate and then put it out there, and it's a good way of being a victim that way. Okay, so and not necessarily it it will throw red flags to people who are looking at it in a malicious manner. Okay, so I don't want to trip over my words and say that it's going to not be hacked or be attacked in any type of way. But when you're self-signing certificates and then putting it out there on a public-facing website, then you're throwing red flags to people who are looking for those type of sites. Um, so having self-signed certificates does have a place in the network. You just need to make sure that it's internal. Also, third-party CAs, or third-party certificates, should I say, is very important. Making sure that they stay up to date and that they are doing things properly as well, especially if you're using that supplier for a main product within your company. So it goes back to what I was saying about having your third party be a supplier of something that you're relying on to have business. If they're vulnerable in any type of way, you want to, as a security professional, you want to step up and say, hey, you might want to take a look at your certificates, make sure that they're properly installed right and that they're up to date. I seen that it was out of date. You might want to get with your CA, whoever assigned that to you, and make sure that it's up to date. And that in turn keeps your information that you share with them secure. So just having that wherewithal to know that you need to make people aware, because sometimes we miss over it, and you as a security professional, it's your job to catch those things and then alert people. And I want to be very clear when it comes to uh, re-establishing a certificate. It doesn't take much to do it, and it's pretty much just staying abreast with the type of account that you have with your CA, making sure that it doesn't go expired or um, be revoked is pretty much just in your realm. You have to take the responsibility of that. And as a security professional, if you're working for a company and you see that, you need to get in contact with whoever has registered your domain and making sure that we get this up and registered as quick as possible, because it's pretty much just saying um, that someone else could possibly take that domain and then register it under their name. Okay, and we don't want to have that to happen, right? Especially if we can have these things written down and remind us in a orderly fashion. So just be aware of those type of things and making sure that we stay abreast on those things and we get to them before we actually have an expiration date. Up to this point, I've been talking about key generation and key usage in the public key infrastructure based off of someone else is doing that. But in-house, sometimes you do have a team that will generate keys, such as self-generated certificates, right? So they're going to be generating keys. So it's important to understand the different types of categories that goes into key management, and this is what this slide details. So we're going to have key generation. What is the process of actually generating a new key? Do we have a process of why we're doing that? So who is in charge of those things, as well as storage? How we're storing our keys? Are we putting them within a network or a different VLAN, uh, a different network than everybody else? Are we going to store our keys uh, encrypted? So those different questions need to come up as far as storing, revocation. Whenever a key has become corrupted or has expired, what's the process of creating a new key? Going back to that key generation, and then expiration and renewal. From time to time, in any business that I've been in, there has been some type of life cycle that goes along. Companies are always changing, especially in the IT field. That not just the field of IT, but this your department of IT is always going to change different tools all the time. You may be stuck with a tool maybe 2 years tops, and then you're going to be rotating that tool out. So having keys set up to make sure that they're just not sitting on a server somewhere stagnant and still valid, but yet not being used. So how do we clean up that process? Are we being audited on those type of processes? So good things to know about key management if you're going to do this in house, or are you going to realize that we do have a team in house? These are some things that they need to consider when it comes to key management. When we generate crypto keys, we want to make sure that they're stored in a proper place. And so having them on a trusted platform module or a hardware security module will be the ideal spot for them. And then, we need to, and we'll talk about this, we need to make sure that we have a process for generating keys, and then that they're stored properly, and that we can bring them back and deploy them properly as well. Because it's more important about, once something goes wrong and we need to change our keys, that we have a smooth process as much as possible, because everybody's still going to be doing their work, yet we're still need to make changes on the security side, or in this case, this would be the networking team on their side, and not disrupt everyone else while we're making these changes. So having that process um, written out and then practiced is very, very essential to how security operations would work in a day-to-day operation. Having a key escrow is pretty much just as it says, you're gonna keep keys kind of in the waiting on deck, ready to be used at a moment's notice. Because we never know when we need to actually implement those or deploy those. So we want to just keep them at the ready, ready to go whenever called upon. So it's important to understand how we're generating these, and then how we're actually storing these, and then how easy is it to implement these. Because sometimes you can implement them, but will it talk to everything correctly? Will it when you make changes in the network, or to the yeah in the network or in production, there's a lot of is a good chance that you're gonna break something that's already been working. So having that process down pat is very vital in order for smooth operations on a day-to-day basis, because once we need to go ahead and start making changes, major changes, um, you're 9 times out of 10 going to disrupt the production in some type of way. As we were, as we've been talking about encryption, um, there's several ways that we can apply it to the data that we're actually using. And those three things are pillars that we live by when it comes to encryption. So we either gonna encrypt data that's at rest, data that's in transit, or data that's in use. And as you can look at the slide here, you can see the difference between each one of those categories. But when data is at rest, it's pretty much sitting on a storage somewhere, um, some type of SAN drive or a share drive somewhere that's just kind of stagnant. It's not being changed. It's not. Uh, it's not being called upon to be reopened. It's just sitting there stored. And but yet, while it's sitting there, we don't want someone to be able to get hold of that and then see that information. So we want to encrypt that data. Um, the data in motion is the most that I've been talking about throughout this lesson, and that's encrypting uh, from endpoint to endpoint through over the internet. And so that data in motion needs to be encrypted. HTTPS, SSL encryption, those type of things creates that tunnel that allows us to keep prying eyes from seeing plain text traffic. And then data in use is when we're actually opening that document up and we're changing things as we speak. We want to make sure that, even if someone is able to see the changes, that they cannot see the actual plain text. So we want to make sure that that data in use is encrypted as well. Uh, the more popular way of encrypting data at rest is having some type of full disk encryption. Um, you see a lot of, excuse me, you see a lot of this on your mobile devices, but you also have it on a Windows machine and Mac as well, where you can encrypt a whole hard drive. For Windows, I know for sure it's called BitLocker. And once you encrypt that whole hard drive, it's going to ask you to log into that encryptor every time you log into your computer. And before it actually gives you the profile page to where you log into your profile, you're going to always need to log into that that BitLocker piece. And then it's going to allow you to log into your profile. So keeping those things in mind for the exam is going to be important. But the one thing that I want you to take away from this slide is those three pillars: data at rest, data in transit, and data in use. We all want to use encryption on those factors. To reiterate the things that I've been saying in the earlier slides of this lesson, um, having encryption on your data traffic is so important to have, and it is something that you always need to bring up if you don't hear it. Just to kind of, it should be taken as granted that we're using secure methods in order to have a secure network, but you want to check with your networking team if you haven't heard anything. Maybe you want to ask a question, hey, what type of SSL encryption are we using? What type of TLS encryption are we using? Um, are we using IPsec? Are we using a VPN connection? These type of things. And maybe you don't have to word it like that, but maybe you say, what version are we on? And in order to spark the conversation to see if there's something that we're actually using. And if, if you'll be surprised if you're not using something. And then you want to, as a security professional, you want to coach them in the right direction of saying, okay, since we're not using this and this is how we're operating, the more secure method is to provide a VPN concentrator in here. So I'll go and look up a vendor that offers that service, and then we'll look at the pricing on how much to bring them on. Okay, so but it's always important to have those things in place. We just don't want to assume that we're automatically using it. We do, as security professionals in this field, we want to know for sure what are we using, and then how are we using it, and what is our plans for the future. Are we gonna keep it, or are we gonna go with a different vendor? Are we gonna go about it a different way? Because maybe we might change the model of the business model, and we may not need a VPN access anymore. So those are things to keep in mind when it comes to encrypting that data over the network. Another interesting fact about creating keys is the process of salting and then stretching the key. These processes, while you don't need to know how to conduct them, it's important to understand that it's being done, so you can ask the proper questions to make sure that we're doing those type of things. So, salting and then stretching the key is pretty much putting randomizations into our key process in order to create a a random key more than a straight processed key. And so when we're throwing that extra bit into that, we're keeping it a guessing game for our hackers to not be able to say, okay, they're using a SHA algorithm, then it should be the keys can only be, a certain amount. If we're gonna throw a salt into it, or we're gonna stretch that key out, then it creates a randomness that you know you would just have to be plain lucky to get it within a certain time frame. Okay, so having these two elements placed into a known algorithm that we have creates a randomness that is going to work for us as far as defending against a brute force attack, where it may take 3, 4 days for them to crack an encryption code. It may take them millions of years now because we have added that extra randomness to it. So blockchaining is a way that we can have hashing functions on a calculated value, and we can use it in a peer-to-peer setting. Having a value that is um, based off integrity, so we know for sure that if anything changes, we are well aware of it, and we can say and prove that it has been changed because of the hash functions, right? But then in a peer-to-peer site, that we can use we can hash one value, but then pass it on, and that our next peer can have a peace of mind that we are giving them the right value. What you see this in mostly is Bitcoin. Bitcoin, when you get that wallet, when you get a Bitcoin wallet, is based off of blockchaining, to where you understand that you have whatever the wallet says it is based off integrity of the blockchain, that it is correct and it hasn't been tampered by anybody else. And when you pass that blockchain on to someone else, if you purchase something or what have you, then they can have confidence that the integrity piece has been passed on to them as well. So for the last slide here on this lesson of encryption, we're going to have to talk about obfuscation. Obfuscation is pretty much hiding something within plain sight. Um, for the exam, you're definitely going to need to know what steganography is, and that's taking a picture, some type of JPEG, and changing one bit to hide information within that bit, and being able to send that across the network to someone else, or to yourself. And it's basically a form of data leaking. Um, and this is hiding information within that picture. Is just going to be in plain sight. Your security team is just going to see a simple picture of your dog leaving the network, but and the metadata of it is going to show that there has been something implanted within that picture. Obfuscation, what you see it normally used as, is when you're typing in your password, you can see that letter that you have typed, but then it changed automatically to a dot or to a star. That's a great example of obfuscation in works, just on a day-to-day basis. So it's hiding something from you within plain sight, and it's not encrypted. It's more of a setting being turned on to actually turn those. Um, let's say you type in your whole social security number, or better yet, a credit card number. Those whole everything is starred out or blotted out except for the last 4 digits. And then, we're going to assume that the first amount of digits are correct and the last four to the user is going to be the way how they validate themselves.
availability of information.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's all about maintaining the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information.
Perfect. All of those things are true, and it's not just that though. That's a small part of it, and sometimes the worst hackers can be ourselves. We just saw that Friday going into this week. I even had to do some cleanup off the CrowdStrike mix up on Friday. That wasn't a cyber attack, but when you start to learn this information, you'll understand how if you follow a process, it's part of cybersecurity. A company like that should never shut down half the world, but hey, it happens. And trust me, CrowdStrike won't have any type of foothold in this industry. I think I think it's going to be over for them. But anyway, that lets you know just how widespread it can be. Cybersecurity really is about protecting your data from protecting yourself on the internet, protecting your data from people who shouldn't see your data, and also that CIA triad that you alluded to, keeping those three pillars the main thing throughout everything that you do in cybersecurity. You got to have confidentiality. People need to make sure that it's secretive from people who shouldn't see it. But then you need to have that integrity that if you put $20 into your bank, that bank knows that you put your $20 in there, and it has the integrity of keeping that data the same until you want to take that $20 out. That's integrity. But then it needs to be available. So think about some of the sites that never go down. They have a very high availability. The one that comes to mind is Amazon.com. Amazon.com never goes down. That site is always up. I even seen Facebook and Instagram. Instagram goes down quite often. But I've seen a lot of more sites just kind of go down and have that maintenance period where people need to bring it back up. Prime case was just this weekend where CrowdStrike took everybody offline. And that's that part of the availability that while it was CrowdStrike's fault, us as security professionals, we needed to have another thing in place in order to keep the business running. So a lot of those airports that you've seen that were shut down, they needed an actual game plan in place just in case that was to happen. You can't have people just sitting in the airport waiting on an itinerary to be printed, and you have no way of printing that off because the computer's down. So that's where we come in at, and we need to know these type of processes on top of stopping our normal hackers from coming in and hacking into our accounts. So all of that is entailed with cybersecurity. But thank you for answering that for me. So Cybersecurity Security Plus is a well-known certification, right? It's kind of like the industry standard. Now, what we have is two different versions. We have a 601 and we have a 701. 601 is being phased out next week, actually. And that you can see that right here where it says retirement. So the reason why I bring that up is that I don't know if they bought the vouchers for you guys for the 701 or the 601. But hopefully it's the 701. I don't know who would be able to get us that information. But what I'm going to teach on these next 4 weeks, I'm going to teach on 601, and I'm going to add in the things from 701. So we fill in those gaps. It's really the same test. They're just going to change certain objectives out. So, we shouldn't really miss anything on that. Yes, I do not know how to say your name. Please say your name. I'm sorry.
It's Lashbumi. Yeah, so I believe like the other time they talked about like the 701 because they said the 601 was getting phased out like I think July. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So they were like, they were going to get us 701 vouchers.
Okay. Well, I'll still teach on the 601, but like I said, I'll cover the 701 as well. So those things that they're adding in, we can go ahead and just cover those things too. And mind you, like I'm recording this session. I'm going to put that up so you guys can come back and study this whenever you feel free. I want you to understand that um, in order for you to pass this exam, it's a tough exam. So you're gonna need to do some studying on your part. You have to. I don't expect for you to get on this class and really kind of soak it in these 2 hours that I'm talking. I'm not gonna be naive and think that. But I'm gonna give you everything that I think you need to pass this exam. But you're gonna need to do some effort on your own. And when you feel like taking an hour out of your day, maybe an hour and a half, and going on this website that I'm gonna show you and practicing this material, I believe that you can go ahead and have it stick and be able to pass this exam. So going back to this website here, it's a 90-minute test, multiple choice. But what it does have is maybe about 10 questions that are performance based. And what that means is that they want you to read a paragraph, look at a diagram, maybe drag and drop some things around. And that's going to throw some people off, because if you don't know how the test is going, you're just going in there thinking that you're getting 90 questions.
Excuse me.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Um, I'm getting my car fixed. My car had broke down.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be like attentive as of right now, but I do have questions. Can I come back in maybe 30 minutes? Would that be okay?
Yeah. Hold on. Let me get you on the attendance. Jonah. Yeah, go ahead and do what you got to do. Again, like I said, I'm recording this, and I'll let you, whenever you come back, I'll let you know where it's gonna be at, so you can pick up where we left off at. For you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
No problem. All right. 90 minutes. 90 minutes. So it's gonna be about 80 questions, multiple choice, but you're gonna have those 10 questions at the beginning. It's gonna be at the beginning, I promise you. And well, let me start off and say I am cybersecurity. Security Plus certified. So I have a good bit of experience with this test because I failed this test twice and got it on my third time. And so it's not something that you just up and know, I guess. But if I don't want to say that and then be negative, right? If you put the effort towards it, you can make it happen. Could I have studied better? Yeah, I think so. Could I have done things better when it comes to test taking? Yes. So did I have things going on those first two times? Oh yeah. So that might have all contributed to me failing that test twice. But the more I did take it, it is I kind of got used to what they wanted in that test and how to go about doing it. So in that 90 minutes, you want to make sure that you keep everything down to maybe about a minute per question. Okay. So no time to really kind of sit there, ponder on it, and then think about it about 2 or 3 minutes. You're going to end up, you're going to run out of time. So keep it to a minute. In this website, I got something for that to where we can practice those questions at a minute pace. I think I could put a time on it, but never mind. Anyway, it's based on a 750 scale score. You only need a 750 to pass. And the reason why I'm bringing up the passing part is because it's a weighted test, meaning the areas that you're weak in is going to ask you more questions in that area. Okay, so when we go over encryption, you may be able to go past encryption fairly easy in the class, but then on the test, if they ask you a fairly complex question and you straight up bomb it, they're going to keep asking you encryption questions, right? And then that's going to push you towards not getting that 750. So we want to make sure that we are able to understand every subject equally, so we can have a balanced test when we take this test. All right. Okay, so 601, 607. Okay. So when you guys get your vouchers, I want you to go to CompTIA. This site right here is called Pearson View, and it's the CompTIA site. I'm gonna drop this in the chat. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because you don't go to CompTIA to register for this exam. You go here to register for the exam. I have this in this. So let me go ahead and show you. I'll stop referencing. This is the site that I'm talking about. I got everybody access to this. So check your email that you gave to Pivot. You should have an email from me regarding this site. Cyber Up with a 3 for the E. But
Yeah,
I'll have that.
Sir, I saw an email like that, but I couldn't access the account.
Okay, we'll go. Let me get through this part, and then we'll have a session where we'll make sure everybody can get access to it, because that's going to be big as far as the material is concerned.
Okay.
All right. So you want to go here to register for your exam, and you can either take it at home or you could take it in one of their testing facilities. You choose and decide on that. Me personally, I had to go to the actual spot and actually take the test there. I think it's easier that way, but don't let me influence how you feel about taking tests. In today's world, you might have you might feel better just to take it at the house. The thing about having a proctor exam, which taking it at the house, right? A proctor exam, they're gonna constantly watch you like that. So you gotta have your camera on, and then they want you to spin your camera around the room, make sure you have everything off your desk, no doors are open. They're trying to alleviate any aspect of you actually cheating. So I don't like that. I think that's an invasive way of privacy, and you don't even really get to see you don't see their face, so you don't know who you're showing that stuff to, in my opinion. But I might be a little paranoid on that. But it is an option. So if you guys want to go ahead and do it at the house, that's fine too. But this is where you'll put in that voucher code, and you'll be able to set up your exam. I would say after our last class, I would say go ahead and schedule the exam. Just go ahead. If you feel halfway decent about the material, schedule the exam, commit to it, and go ahead and take it. And see where you're at. Try your best on it. Make sure you study as much as possible. I'm going to leave you access to this material so you can use it at any time. Contact me at any time and let me know what questions you got, and we'll walk through it. But that's the CompTIA site for Pearson View. It has to go through here. You won't be able to go here to CompTIA site and find a way to set up your exam. You have to go here. Another good thing about Security Plus, jobs. So I think me personally, I don't know about you guys, but that's the whole main thing about cybersecurity, is that cybersecurity can provide a job that's very lucrative, very rewarding, and they're only asking you to trade knowledge for the type of job that you have. And what I mean by that is that they want you to constantly learn these new technologies, the processes for the job, and being able to be that subject matter expert when it comes to security of their data. And I don't know about the Nashville area too much. And you guys are in Nashville, I'm correct? Or this is Alabama. So, Mobile? My bad on that. I was thinking about the other cohort. So I like to come and find jobs all the time. I did the same thing here. And I like to go on LinkedIn and Indeed. If you don't have a Indeed, a LinkedIn account, do yourself a favor and make one. And if you're a person that don't mind networking, LinkedIn is a perfect spot to do that. Especially while you're in school and you're looking for internships. While I'm on that subject, let me go ahead and tap into internships. Internships can be a wonderful way for you to get into this field without going through the whole process of trying to find different jobs. Because what's going to hold you back is the experience part of it. I have ways around the experience part, but it's going to be better if you're an intern working for a company. They train you the way they want you to be trained, and then they just hire you on after the internship. So if you could find some internships, that'd be awesome. But to my point of what I was trying to show you guys is that Security Plus is 9 times out of 10 going to be on job descriptions in some form and fashion. SAIC is a popular military government contractor, and they normally want Security Plus to be on their applicants' resume. So I'm looking for it here. So you can see here they want the A plus, the Network Plus, and CE only means continuing education, or continuing something else. I forget what it is. It might be experience, but don't hold me to that. But anyway, the security certifications is something that they're looking for too. And so these places like this pay very well, even for entry level positions. So I would highly, like I said, compared to the A plus, and I'm not trying to sway you guys, but compared to the A plus, I probably would lean more to the Security Plus, just because it's a niche. It's more of A plus can be so broad, and it's not really going into one direction. And so you have to get maybe like a service desk or a help desk position, where Security Plus is strictly for cybersecurity positions. You could get a help desk job, but you're more focused into a particular specialization. Any questions on that? So like I said, LinkedIn is a wonderful spot. Create a LinkedIn and reach out to me, and let's connect. I'm not great at networking, but I mean, I know y'all, so I'll put it in the chat too. So if you want to just go ahead and just make one, and just, if you want to have a connection, hit me up. I'll go ahead and connect. There's no problem. But I think this is also great ways for people to look at others in that field and have direct conversation to them. Let's say this young gentleman, he contacted me the other day, and I don't know him, but if I see something maybe in his biography that I wanted to necessarily talk to him about, or maybe if I wanted to get in the governance and compliance area when it comes to cybersecurity, maybe it's somebody that I can ask, hey, what do I need to study? Who do I need to talk to? Things of that nature. So networking here on LinkedIn is built for that type of networking. whereas other social media sites is more sociable, not really geared for any type of career building. Okay. All right. Did anybody else join since then? I don't think so. All right. Any questions? Give me 1 second. Let me go ahead and switch over to CyberUp, and then let's get y'all in there. Appreciate that follow, man. All right. Easy. So CyberUp, let's go here to, I need to log out. Who doesn't have access to this site? Just okay. Keith. So what's going on? Give me 1 second. I thought I had everybody in here. Keith, you see this email right here? Can you check that Gmail account and make sure you didn't see anything come in there? It should look like this. Give me 1 second. Let me pull it
Yeah,
up.
I did get an email for the. You talking about for the CyberUp thing?
You kind of cut out at the end, but yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I saw it in my email. Cool. So I just click the link and then it's gonna give me access.
Yeah, click that link, and then you're gonna need to use the password there in that email to get access. It's gonna ask you to change that password, but once you change it, then it's something that and then you can go ahead and use it whenever.
So for the Security Plus, are we eventually gonna get CompTIA as well, like the or are we just gonna stay on CyberUp?
I don't know, but I and the reason why I don't know is because I had a login for that, but it didn't really give me the class, if that makes sense, in order to have the material for you guys to follow. And so I was kind of confused on that, and I probably need to get with Dr. Blair about that and ask her, what are we all going to? What is the preferred method for us to use? What did y'all use for the A plus course?
CompTIA for Core 1 and Core 2.
Can someone show me that? Can they share their screen and show me? Or
I can.
okay, I'm gonna stop sharing. Or am I sharing? I'm not even sharing. You could share, I think.
Just give me 1 second. I'm logging in.
Okay, no problem. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen real quick just to show you. If you got that email from CyberUp, it's gonna look like this. and it wants you to use that username right here, but that password, take this password, throw it in there, throw it into this screen. It's going to look like this. Let me log out. It's going to look like this. Throw that username and that password in there, and it's going to automatically ask you to change it. Let me know if I need to send that back to anybody.
I just logged into CompTIA. We actually do have the Security Plus on there as well. So yeah.
Okay. Do you mind sharing your screen real quick just so I can take a look at it?
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you. Because I'm wondering if it's 701 for that website. Screen everything. Go to lessons. And scroll down. This looks like 601.
Sorry, let me come off mute. It's not letting me scroll down. I think it's only 15
15 lessons.
lessons. Yeah.
Okay.
But it does say 701, yes.
Okay. So you can go ahead and stop sharing now. I appreciate it.
Okay, no problem.
So does everybody have access to that?
Yeah.
Thumbs up or say yeah, appreciate it. Okay, so let's do this in conjunction. So because I don't think each one of those lessons is probably literature, and they maybe only got videos here and there. I don't know how you guys do with videos or hearing a lecture versus reading. Me personally, I gotta have the video. Each one of my classes, each one of my lectures is going to have a video to it, and then at the end of that, it should have 7 to 10 questions for every lesson. Let's go back to 15. Can everybody get into CyberUp? Or is that something that I need to ask tomorrow as you guys get settled in and then try to get into the class?
I got in.
Cool. Anybody else got in?
Yeah, I also got in.
Cool. All right. So let me share my screen. If you don't have access, let me know and I'll get that email back over to you. But I set it up in 2 weeks, right? I'm gonna collapse it all and then I'm gonna explain it. And the reason why I wanted to do that is because we got 4 weeks. We need to cram this thing in, and it's tough to do that, but hey, we got to do what we got to do, right? So I got 4 weeks here. And I wish I had it to where it could be indented so it could be easier to see. But I got 4 weeks here, and I got 21 lessons. But the one thing about it is that for some of the weeks, I have different resources here, such as, I think this is for my previous class, so I need to take that out. Yep. Sorry about that. But I got the objectives here. And this is straight from CompTIA 701 objectives. This is everything to cover on an exam. And so a study tip is that if you take these objectives, and it's really only just definitions, if you're able to do the definitions on these types of words, you have a good chance you probably are going to pass this exam. Not saying that this is all about remembering definitions. It's more about, if you know the definition of, let's say, a digital signature, that when they ask you a multiple choice question, you'll know the difference between a blockchain. And so you won't get confused when you're reading they're going to give you a paragraph, maybe 2 paragraphs to read, and it has nothing to do with nothing. All right. And it gets on my nerves. And they're going to give you 2 paragraphs and maybe ask the question in 2 sentences. And then that might be that, and by it being 90 questions, it wears on you over time to where you start to try to fly through the exam. And that's where they kind of catch you up too. So, but having these objectives, knowing that, you can look at what a nation state is and how it differs from a hacktivist, or if they're in a nation state, if you can understand what I'm saying on those, then you probably stand a good chance of probably passing this exam. So keep those things in mind. So going back, and I have those in like some of the weeks to week points where I have different resources. I thought I did. Guess I didn't. Well, I'll be putting them in there. But I know for sure each lesson has a video to watch. And then after that video, might have some reading to do. And that's the reason why I wanted it to be in a setting like this, is that, you can do this whenever you feel like learning. And then when you feel like learning, you're able to take in a lot more and retain it. Now, you can go over these questions as many times as you want, and be able to check them as they go along. I think I have the answers in there to where it explains why certain things are correct and why they're not. But in conjunction with this, as well as the one from CompTIA that Pivot has provided for you, it should set you up for success, I think. And then at the end, when we get into week 4, or I'll say in the week 3, I'm going to start putting some practice tests out there. And you can use the practice tests from here as well as CompTIA to help you with that, getting used to 100 questions, multiple choice. And the good thing about the CompTIA part is that they have those performance-based questions in there ready to go too. So any questions? So real quick, right before we take our break, let's go back. I got you guys also in 2 more courses in CyberUp. It's Intro to Computers. Just in case you got any kind of questions coming from the A+ side, take a look at these videos. I think they're very informative. Maybe they could shine some light on some questions you probably had from the A+ side of it. it really doesn't go into detail like that, but I do have a video that I thought is very informative. This guy is great, honestly, on YouTube. And then another course that I got you guys signed up in is the job board. And the reason why I did this is because, like I said, the whole point is to find some type of employment. And if you guys, even though you're in school or what have you, you can still try to look for internships. I got cybersecurity companies, government companies that are very lucrative when it comes to government contracting, the medical field, and I try to focus these around remote jobs. So I work remote. I'm a big component of working remote, and I think that it shouldn't go away. And so I try to get companies up here that they are remote friendly. And if you want to take a look at them, the only thing you got to do is just, click on that. It should open up in a different window and go straight to their job board. And the reason why I do this is because going to Indeed and LinkedIn all the time, it will you get a lot of traffic there, and sometimes you see bad posts where it may be posted up there for maybe a year or more, or a lot of times you could fill out these job applications and people never get back with you. I always tell people to go directly to a company and see if they're hiring for the position that you want and fill out the application on their site. And so I wanted to cut the middleman out and just kind of have it here. And so I think, on your free time, just go through, see what you see. Now, the thing about that is that you don't have to have the Security Plus to fill out these applications. I'm going to say that again. You do not have to have the Security Plus to fill out these applications. I did not have my Security Plus when I got my first cybersecurity job. And I don't think it's a necessity for anybody else to have it as well. But I do think you need to be able to hit your certain points in the interview stage in order to get that job. Okay? So I do believe in that. Any questions on that?
I just want to say thank you. That's a great resource. And also, when you said you didn't have Security Plus, do you remember like the first search that you got?
I have the Security Plus.
No. I'm saying when you first got a job, like when you first got like the first job that you said that you got.
I had
what cert?
I had a easy cert called ITIL. I was able to knock this out in about a weekend. I crammed this one, right? Didn't know what I was talking about. But this is for help desk. I had this and I had a degree. And we can get into that, let me make sure I pick that up after this break. Let me take a break. Let y'all get up, do what y'all got to do, and let's pick up from that point of certifications and degrees. And I'll tell you other certifications that you might want to look at that'll help you out in your journey. So remind me of that when we come back in about 15, okay?
Okay, cool.
All right. So let's take 15. Let's be back at what is it? 6 for y'all? 6:50 for right now? So come back at 7:05. I don't have a timer, but I'll see y'all then. Appreciate it. Now, to Leah's point of which certifications that I had starting off, like I said, ITIL is a inexpensive certification that you can get that is well known, but it's more direct to service desk and help desk. So when you go to putting in a ticket at your school or whatnot, and they have a IT department that gets that ticket and processes it, ITIL will help you understand it from a manager standpoint, learning about SLAs, service level agreements, and how they correlate to your users. So when you put that ticket in, let's say, for us, for example, if you put a ticket in with Verizon, your phone carrier, you're expecting to hear an answer for them in, what time frame. Is it going to be a day? Do you want to hear something within the hour? Do you want to hear something and have a result within 2 hours? Those things is what ITIL will bring your attention to, and then help you strategize and become better at within your field. That's one. And I was able to get my cybersecurity job with just that one. But I had experience on my side because I was already out of the Army, and I did computer work in the Army. And then I was able to get with a TV company and do help desk for them. And so it was kind of like I used my resume as a heavy on the experience side until I got my certifications up. Now, for you guys, what I would suggest, if you want to get another certification, you can go and you can look at the ITIL one, but then you can also look at this one. And I think this one goes under the radar, but it's a nice one to get and really pass it. I want to say within like 2 weeks of learning it. It's the AWS Cloud Practitioner courses. And the reason why I say this is because everybody's moving to the cloud now. If you don't understand the cloud, then you're kind of missing out on the technology that we're taking a part of. And you all have something to do with the cloud, even to where we're meeting in a Zoom classroom, which is in the cloud, right? I'm recording this to the cloud. And so if you understand how the cloud works, and trust me, this certification does not break down the every little thing about the cloud, but it will give you a overall view of how the cloud works, and then how are we actually using it on a day-to-day basis. Then I think that'll be impactful when it comes to putting it on your resume, and then you're able to speak to it from a job standpoint, because they're going to be uploading, data to the cloud, pictures to the cloud, documentation, and they want to know, not only can you protect it, do you understand why we're going to the cloud? Why is it's such a necessity? Because a big thing that I preach is that technology is only convenient. It's convenience. I'm sorry. It's convenience for us. It doesn't necessarily mean that we need to have it, but it's convenient to have. If you got an iPhone and then an iPad, then what's the difference between the two, other than one is more convenient than the other when it comes to certain tasks, right? And so that's why, having these type of certifications, I think it shows that you are up on the different changes that's going on in the real world, and that you understand what they are facing when it comes to different technology, because they're going to constantly bring in new stuff all the time. So I would definitely say look into ITIL. Maybe it's like I think $99 for this one, and then look into Cloud Practitioner. I for sure know it's about $99 to take this one. Any questions on those? I do not have classes on these yet. I need to find some free time to actually make a class on both of these, but I would like to have some made out and actually provide them. But any questions on that? Do you guys are for the ones? Hold on. Everybody's in school, right? Thumbs up on that.
Yes, sir.
So, are we all taking cybersecurity as a degree, or is it kind of like, do your school offers that?
I'm going to school for computer information systems, and like during like some coursework, they have like we do go over like cybersecurity.
Okay.
Yeah,
Anybody else?
I'm in school for computer science, but I could concentrate in cybersecurity.
Okay.
Yeah, I can do that as well.
And that's at this point is just we need to catch up, and I'm particularly talking about HBCUs now. Is that we need to catch up with other institutions that are offering cybersecurity as a degree. Um, Not everybody does that. They do it as kind of like a specialization, and I believe that's because schools really don't know exactly how to put it as a program. Uh, because I think they look at it as a technical degree and not necessarily a I don't even know, an academic degree or something like that. It's definitely not on the same par as American literature or African American studies or history as a major, but it's more technical, and I think they don't understand the business side of it, of how security professionals are built to just understand business, and then we think about the security side to the business. But I think that'll change over time. Maybe after you guys get your degrees and certifications, and um, y'all are seniors at your jobs, maybe then your alma mater will probably have a degree program, um, offering it as a associate's or a bachelor's of science. But I'm pretty sure that's probably in the long future. But in the meantime, you know, while you're doing that degree work, I say get your degree, but also get these certifications too on while you're learning. Um, I'm assuming everybody's out on summer break right now. And so if you can knock out a couple of certifications, do that, please. I'm gonna just give you another one real quick. It's called Qualis. Forgive me on my spelling. Qualis training. So check this out, right? All right. So y'all see this right here? This is a free training at that, right? But they're gonna give you a not a certification, but a certificate of completion based off of vulnerability management. Now, we won't talk about vulnerability management until maybe about Thursday, maybe next week. But vulnerability management is a subsector of cybersecurity. And to put icing on top of that, hold on, let me get right. Go back over here to Indeed. Let me get up out of here. And just throw vulnerability management up in here. Vulnerability management making me look bad right now. Jesus. Do y'all understand why they do stuff like this? But vulnerability management is also a particular position that companies pay for. And when I say pay, they pay. And the thing about it is that you're not doing what I do at work. What I do at work is I make sure whatever tools we bring in corresponds with what we need for our business. Vulnerability management is going to look for any type of risk or what type of issues we may run into, and then they report it. Once they report it, it's up to the IT team to remediate it and fix that issue. It's only meant for the vulnerability management to find the issue and to report the issue. So keep that in mind as something to take a look at. This I'm put this in the chat. I'm sorry, man. I'm gonna butcher your name. Can I get a nickname for you or something?
Yeah, you could call me Ola.
Allah?
Ola. Yeah.
Ola? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. So is your job like governance and compliance?
Say that one more time.
Is your job related to like compliance and governance or something like that?
It could be. Some companies can loop that in, but the ones that I've seen is going to be separated. So you have these certain silos where you have, matter of fact, this kind of goes into our first lesson. That when you click on the first lesson in Cyber Up, it'll start talking about positions in cybersecurity. So you will have something like incident response. But then you will have something like cybersecurity engineer that you see right there. And let's just say analyst for right now. But the analyst, see, the cybersecurity analyst is going to be very related to the incident response analyst. And I'll explain why in just a second. So I'm going to say engineer. And then after that, you're going to have you can have vulnerability management, right? Then after that, we can have what we call GRC. That's what you're alluding to, Ola, when it comes to governance, risk, and management. GRC. Then you got one that nobody really look at, and it pays just as well, and that's audit. Now, the reason why I didn't bring up the CISO or IT directors or information chief information officers is that these are, 15 years and plus type of jobs, and plus you're going to need this certification right here. This is what you're going to see a lot. Once you get your Security Plus, you're going to start seeing this certification every time, the CISSP. Can you get this certification now and just skip the Security Plus? Yes. Would I suggest that? No. Do I have it? No. And I'm not telling you not to get it because I ain't got it. But I am saying that it's going to throw 10 times more information at you. And it's going to be a substantial increase when it comes to taking this test. I think it's $700 for this test. And there's no retakes. Well, you can retake it, but you're going to pay another $700. So just keep those things in mind. So that's your senior side of it. And then auditors, your auditors are going to make sure that we have everything that we're supposed to have when it comes to compliance. So sometimes they're in that group. They may be covered under the director of GRC, but they're just really checking, okay, for ISO 27001, which we'll learn about later. Not certification, what did he call that thing? That governance, we're supposed to have so many firewalls or servers that's blocked by a firewall. And what our auditors do is that they'll pick a time throughout the year and they'll check to make sure that those things are in place. That's all they do. Now, once they figure out if it's in place or not, then they'll write a report saying the things that we need to change. So I think auditors are very lucrative for the amount of work that they need to put in. But I'm not saying that it's easy. But what I am saying is that I don't see too many people complaining about auditors. That's just me being real. And I think, me personally, I think that you can get in this just as easy as an entry level job as a security analyst. GRCs, again, kind of like auditors, but what they're doing is that they're making sure our policies is okay, making sure we're not taking on any kind of risk that we don't need to take on. And then we're making sure that we are in compliance with whatever regulations that we're under. Let's say if we are a company that take credit cards all day long, we want to make sure that we are compliant when it comes to PCI DSS, which is for credit card industries that use credit cards for transactions. They have a list of things that they want their people to abide by. And it's up to the GRC team to make sure that we have those things in place. Again, I already talked to you about vulnerability management, but it's one of those silos where this is all what they do. They find out, like, okay, hands up if everybody is familiar with what happened on Friday when it came to CrowdStrike. Put a thumbs up in the chat. So if we're familiar with it, then vulnerability management, that person was supposed to warn everybody that, hey, we got something coming down the pipe and it's going to be big. And we need to get ahead of it before it affects us. So when you think about all those people sitting in their doggone airport, they either didn't have a vulnerability manager to see that coming, or they didn't have another way of really fixing that. I just really find it to be bad. But anyway, vulnerability management is that where I'm going to see what's the problem of what we have in store. It's kind of like looking at updates. So if you got a Mac or if you have a Windows and you have that time where you need to update your computer or your phone, that vulnerability management manager or analyst is going to look at that update once it's primed to come out and see if we actually need to push this out to everybody. See, the problem that happened with CrowdStrike is that it was a lot of people who updated the CrowdStrike agent because it was automatically set to auto update. And when it auto updated, it looked for a piece of file in your System 32 for Windows, and it kind of fought it and just kind of really deleted it, which caused the blue screen of death that everybody was just showing. And so now it just creates a headache for everybody else trying to get everything back online, because now you got to figure out ways of how do you put hands on that computer when it's not able to get back on the internet. And it's just a pain, especially for us, or for my company that's remote, where I got things in China, Indonesia, Africa, and I can't put hands on them, but I have to work with people who maybe don't have that much great English and try to walk them through the blue screen of death to get them back online. But a vulnerability management could have stopped this before it got out of hand. Going back to cybersecurity engineer. So like I said, this is where I'm at, where I'm looking at the tools that we bring in, and I'm determining if that's something that we actually need. You can end up spending millions on these different types of tools, and they all do different things, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you need them. And so it's up to me to take them in, kind of get that demo, and see what it does, and then take it to our testing site to see if we actually need it, if it breaks stuff before we actually implement it. Does it work well with the things that we already have in place? Is it worth the money? Is it worth the contract? Because the contract is just, oh, if you can create a software and sell the software, please do that, because people will pay you for it. A lot of money. So that's engineering. That's above the incident response. So incident response and cybersecurity analyst is probably going to be your entry level points. And this is where we're reading a lot of logs. We're looking at a lot of entries that come into the network, and then we're stopping hackers at the first level. But it's not just on the network.